you.
All right, so let's take a look at how we can do some development on Gemnasium when it involves the downstream pipelines using the separate test projects. So this is an MR I'm working on that is trying to change how we use the dependency plugin for SBT, and I've made some changes in that project. It triggers a pipeline. Note that here I'm using a specific label which is called trigger Gemnasium Maven, and that kind of reduces the scope of the pipeline to speed things up. It's basically just triggering one child pipeline called Gemnasium Maven, but regularly you might have three of them, one for Gemnasium, one for Gemnasium Maven, and one for Gemnasium Python, because we are in this single project, we are building three different images. We use separate
There's
images for.
also the SBOM Golang thing
Oh
that
yeah,
I
then there
saw.
was. So we should remove that one. Actually, it was
Mm,
uh, we started to use that for generating S-bombs, but we kind of switched gear to a different architecture or implementation at least. So we probably should remove that one. I don't think anyone is using it.
mm,
Um, but yeah, we're basically building multiple images for various needs. I won't get into the details. So in that case, I'm just working with the Maven one. So that's why I've restricted the pipeline on that one for speeding things up. So it starts by doing some various jobs directly on the repository and then triggers a downstream pipeline, which is actually a child pipeline on the same project.
mm,
So it's running on the exact same project, same repository, but with different settings, and basically using a different Docker file, different test suites, etc. So you can see the
mm,
downstream pipeline here, the child pipeline for Gemnasium Maven, which does several things like building the image, then doing some testing. And part of those tests are actually all the downstream pipelines that we trigger on the test projects. And the reason we do that and not only doing what you can see here, we have some um, image test for regular image, FIPS image. So we have some variants. FIPS is for FedRAMP
mm,
environments. So we have doubled tests sometimes for that. But we have a bunch of other tests that run directly in the context of this project. And we actually have an helper, which is the integration, image integration test, I think. It's documented here in the README. And that's a better approach because it's all running into the same context, even if it's using repositories from other projects as fixtures, it always run in that same pipeline. So it's a bit simpler. But there are still some cases where we do those kind of job integration tests, we call them, which is like in the context of a very separate GitLab project, just try to use the full end-to-end solution because this involves some components like the CI templates that it's hard to simulate into these regular kind of tests. So that's the main reason, as far as I remember, why we still have some of the downstream job tests there. So for example, here, I'm playing with Scala SBT test project, and there are two pipelines running on that same project, but they are running with different environments. These are for offline testing, by the way, and one is for
mm,
the regular Java version we ship by default, which is 17, and the other one is 21. As you can see here, unfortunately, it fails because I'm just testing a change in the configuration of the test project. So we can go there and look at what's going on. So if you look here, I am actually not on the default branch, but I'm running on that on a specific pipeline. And this is associated with that MR, which is an MR I've created on the Scala SBT test project that includes some changes that match my MR on the Gemnasium project. So if I haven't done that, the existing situation on that test project wasn't matching with my changes and it failed. So I went to that test project. I created a new branch, include my changes there. So here I'm actually branching from the offline freeze branch, which is the regular branch we use for offline testing. And I've done
mm,
some additional changes there. And what I want now is to make sure that Gymnasium project, when running the pipeline on my merge request, is using that environment rather than the default one. So to do so, we have some settings in the, sorry, go back there. We have some settings in the GitLab CI YAML config file. So as you can see here, I've changed the YAML configuration for Gemnasium Maven. And
Hmm.
specifically, there is a section here where we declare several downstream jobs using the trigger keyword and the CI configuration. And we set some
Hmm.
variables, and those variables are specific to what we want to set. And here you can see one of the parameters for the trigger declaration here is that you can specify which branch is used. And by default, we use the offline freeze, as I mentioned, and I changed that to use my specific branch. So any pipeline that runs in that MR will be using this branch in the downstream job test. And
Okay, interesting.
that's what I'm doing to make sure I'm testing things the way I want. Once everything is validated and it's approved, what we'll do is we'll merge with that merge request on the test project to make sure that now the default branch we use for this kind of test is including the changes. And then we can merge, I can revert that. I will actually, that's why I'm putting a to-do to make sure I remember about that. I revert that
Hmm.
change to the default branch. We merge this and everything is working as usual.
Okay, so I just need to change. First of all, I need to create a branch in the test project.
Yep.
And I assume I should also create a merge request for that. It makes a lot of sense. And the pipelines are going to run on that merge request since they're applied to that branch.
So the pipeline will run in the branch. You don't specifically need a merge request. You could,
Mm,
depending on the configuration. There are some configuration of the CI that only runs a pipeline if there is a merge request created. That's to
mm,
for some efficiency purposes to kind of avoid running pipelines if there is no intent to merge the code. But I don't think that's the case on our test project. But anyway, as soon as you push a branch with changes on the test project, you can use that in the Gymnasium project. It's just that it's
mm.
convenient to have an MR there too for letting people know that you need to change things and you want them to review them in the test project too.
Got it. Understood. So I should create a branch on the test project, and I can set that branch as my target branch on my original merge request, and it will run its downstream tasks on that branch.
Yeah. And when you say on target branch is like by specifying this
Mm,
in here, not the
yeah.
merge request target branch, just
Yeah. Yeah.
not confused because that's another a word for target like here. But
Mm, yeah. Yes.
got it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That is funky. It feels convoluted, but okay. I got it. I'll give it a try.
Yeah, that's a bit annoying. You might get some fading pipeline in the middle of that
Mm,
position. So yeah, that's a bit of an annoying process. It doesn't happen often because most of the time our tool should be working without requiring specific setup on the project because that means our customer will have to do the same setup. So
hmm.
most of the time it's working out of the box, or we want it to work out the box. Only in some cases it's specific. So in that case, yes, because I'm tuning the way of dealing with offline environments, and I'm actually making things more support more options and remove some preliminary setup we had for offline environments, so it's better. But yeah, you have to make sure that in your case, the changes that you're doing in the test project is really necessary and that it doesn't create some kind of side effects. Um,
Hmm.
Also, and that's also very a downside of those test project is we share them with other groups because initially it was one team and then it grew and grew and grew and we have multiple groups now, multiple teams working on that. But there could be some changes you're making in that test project that will impact other features like static analysis, for instance. I know for sure is using those projects. And for instance, in Scala SBT, you can see static analysis SAST feature is configured here. Usually we have a
Hmm.
README, but it might not be consistent across all projects. So again, when you're making some changes, you have to also make sure that you're not creating undesirable side effects for other usages. Um, if you have something very specific you absolutely need, you might be able to pull a specific branch. And that's why we have a freeze prefix, because anytime
Hmm.
we have a branch that we don't want to be removed, we use the freeze prefix because that's specifying a specific environment we want to test with, and we don't want people to mess with those branches because it breaks our automated tests.
Got it. Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
So give it a
Okay,
try. Let us know if you need more help, and at the review time, we'll also figure out if that makes sense, or there's other approaches we can go with.
sounds good. Yeah, I think it would be cool to like, try to think what would be the right way here. It might be like a product issue, but okay, I'll give it a try.
Cool.
Thank you
Well,
so much,
good
Olivier.
luck.
Thank you. I'll see you later.
Bye.